All right, hello, welcome to this video. Thanks for tuning in and sharing in this now moment. I just want to do a quick little light language or energy update, just kind of share what's coming through from my higher guidance team, my inner guidance team, my family that we are all connected with, our ancestors, and we'll just kind of go from there. Okay. And so as we tune, we set the tone for a higher regimen, if you will, a higher arena for us to step into, for that which has been compartmentalized sometimes causes the mental city, the mental capacity, the mental ability, the mentality to shift. So what I'm seeing is as I tone, I kind of shift out of the mental. I go from left brain to right brain, or I connect the hemispheres. And what I'm being shown is that it allows me, when I do that, to step out of the mental, right, city, the city of the head, the city of the mind. Although that's also a play on words, it allows me to step into the city of the mind, the bigger mind that is connected within the heart. And I'm hearing mining for a heart of gold. So that always comes up for me. It's like connect the heart to the head and then go from there. For as we move out of the head, we are then able to step ahead and get out of the way of ourselves. We are able to light the way, to see the way, to feel the wave, to be the wave, and not step into. I'm seeing somebody stepping in a hole, and getting stuck. And we step out of resistance. And so we recognize when we come into this greater expansiveness of communication that there is more than meets the mind. There is more than meets the eyes. And there is much more that we have access and the capabilities of accessing into. For there are many that are feeling the entrapments, if you will, feeling entrapped within the mind, that are staying in this space of, I'm hearing derangement. We are rearranging oftentimes and rearranging in a cyclical pattern that then stimulates the sick in the cyclical. For when we come into this space of constant interaction with merely the temporal activity, we do not recognize the I'm hearing above all activity. So it's the layers, right? It keeps us in attachment. It keeps us in the head. It keeps things from really coming up beyond that. And whenever I say coming to a head, I always think of the stuff that we're keeping within us that needs to come out, right? So it's essentially we block it and we get stuck inside of it. And it becomes this habitual pattern of overthinking and underestimating the true potential of ourselves, our cells, our body. And it's what I'm being shown is a separation then of these densities. And I'm being guided to talk a little bit about this because a lot of people are waking up to their extrasensory abilities. I've talked about this a lot, and they're just not aware that they are. They don't even necessarily recognize that's what's happening because they're so stuck in here. And so when I say things like, oh, my higher guidance team, it's my inner guidance. It's what I receive when I go within. And what I'm seeing is when I step inside of myself and step outside of the external world. Yet then what happens is I combine the two so that I can then share with you what frequencies I am tapping into. So we are all part of this soup. We are all part of this skin suit ability and technology of tapping into the root of the higher geometries. And I see this as like obviously math. So I see like pi, but I also see, so like the root of the, what we've been divided into, we get to see the origination, the original root word, root frequency, root race, root versions of us that is something that we have been, I'm hearing, averted from. So we've been averted, like taken off course, and then allows us to come back into these more expansive versions of us. And I'm also seeing that it takes us from fraction to fractal. So fractal is forever, right? It's like this pattern, but a fractal isn't necessarily the same thing. If you look at a fractal, gosh, I'm trying to remember. I'll have to maybe try to find this. I always say I'll share it and I forget, but Google it, look it up. A fractal, and you look at these, there's a name for it and it's bothering me, but I'll think of it later. Again, get out of the head and just stay in the flow. It's not always the same thing over and over again, but it is a pattern that does repeat itself, but there's different arrangements within that pattern. So meaning it doesn't always look the same, but it's connected no matter what, and it's never ending. For many of us have been stuck in the same patterns, not realizing that this cuts us off from our deeper resources. Many of us are not taking the time to go within and to fraternize with our own selves, with our own selves, with our own ability to see more clearly, within our own ability to see within our own selves. And then we recognize that what we have been told, what we have been sold, that which is trying to be sold to us, sells and sold, selling, basically has kept us at bay from ourselves, has kept the truth at bay of this deeper archaeology that we are attached to. We are being invited to let go of the outside archaeology that we have been tapping into. But in doing that, we let go of the attachment to the beliefs that we have about the old systems. So I'm seeing just letting go of the attachments that we have to what we believe about a certain civilization, what we think we know, what we believe about language, what we think we know, again, in the head, and get more into, I'm hearing this regime, this establishing a regime. Okay, when I say that, it's like a habitual pattern to step out of the habitual pattern of the old regime. So it's establishing our own inner regimen, which then allows us to be our own regime and to step out of this new, I'm seeing belief systems about what we think that should look like. So there's a lot of people who are still stuck in an idea, which is fine. It's no judgment. There's no blame or shame in this. It just is what it is. So recognizing it and coming back into that inner fluidity allows us to see past the rigidity. I'm seeing on short waves, rigid lines of, scarcity, but I'm also seeing it allows us to step out of the rigidity of just the analytical left brain thinking. Yet this is the time for us to move into a deeper base frequency that gives us the opportunity to be in a better space of critical thinking that is allowing us to connect our hemispheres to see past that which has been synced up to our hemispheres. So I'm seeing like, Neo in the Matrix, like we're so, not we, obviously I'm not saying you watching this video, but as a society, many of us have been so plugged into these concepts that it's become, I'm hearing it sucking out the youth. I'm hearing euthanization. And then there's a lot of plays on words around that. So what happens is that creates our reality is what we think we know. And it's literally a rigid box that we've moved out of, but we just don't necessarily see because we're not feeling into the fact that we've moved out of it. So therefore, it's like a little bit like the Truman Show, that movie, where he doesn't realize that he's able to get out of this, but then all of a sudden things start to happen and he's like, wait a minute, I could go this far, or you're not who you say you are, or that isn't real. Wait a minute. What else isn't real? I'm getting goosebumps. What else is out there that I haven't tapped into? But more importantly, what I'm being shown is what else is inside of us that we haven't tapped into? What is it that we may not quite know about ourselves that we have kept at bay because we've been in this constant, I'm seeing a triangle of these are our points that we are able to move around in, but our grid has expanded. We just have to realize and recognize and see that our grid has expanded. For as we move into this whole new ability to see more clearly, with more transparency, with more ability to see that which has been, I'm being invited to play with that word. Okay, so I will. Okay, now I'm seeing why I'm being guided to check this out. So when we think of transparency, oftentimes we just think of it as being see-through. We can see through it. We have the ability to recognize what's real and what isn't because we can see through it. But there's been so much density and so many cords and entanglements to all kinds of programs, and fill in the blanks, whatever that represents for you, that this has created the inability to see through that because it's so dense. But also, what this is the definition for transparency: an image, text, or positive transparent photograph printed on transparent plastic or glass, able to be used as a projector. So that is the key to this. Is, well, we could play with this in so many words. What I'm seeing is it's a holographic image, right? So we can see through it. If we can use our own projector, which is our third eye, pineal gland, intuition, I'm getting goosebumps again, clairaudience, clairvoyance, all of it is extrasensory abilities that we use as a projector to view the holograph, to create the holograph that we are part of. But I'm also really seeing the heart. And this is something that always comes up. It's using the heart as a projector in order to then view your movie. And I did a video a few months back where I had seen, if you've ever watched the movie Donnie Darko, such a good movie. And there's a scene where in the movie where he's got this wormhole kind of going out of the chest and out of the back. Sorry, spoiler alert on that, but it's kind of scary. It's kind of creepy. I've recommended it to people and they're like, oh, that's kind of a creepy movie. I dig it. It's an awesome movie, but it's not for everyone. Anyways, so if you're freaked out easy, it may not be for you. So, but having said that, it's this projector. And I saw that in my mind's eye. And then I had seen my heart being that projector. So when you send out that heart energy, it projects forward this space that we then step into. This changes our wave mechanics. This changes our ability to tap into our wave mechanics and to elongate our frequency patterns. And as we elongate our frequency patterns, what it does is it allows us to step more forward. And this is all a play on words. It allows us to step more into that space, moving forward and not be stuck. So if you guys, the long wave, I play with that a lot. I play with the golden means a lot, the meaning of do unto others. What does that mean? What is the golden rule, the golden compass? Why is this such a part of our fairy tales and rules that we have been taught, but we've never really been taught what that really means? So yes, why do we do unto others as we would do unto ourselves? Because they're part of the hologram that we're part of, because they're part of the fractal, right, that we are all connected to. They are part of the body and signature frequency that we all find as our home base. And in addition to that, it has to do with creation. So I encourage you to look up, as I always do, negentropy and heart math and Dan Winters and his teachings. I mean, he really does create this beautiful space where you don't have to be a scientist to understand what he's talking about. I was guided to his work through you guys. Thank you. Also, because I was writing in code. I'm writing a frequency. That frequency holds within it part of these waves that people who listen or work with me or read what I write might feel. And that then stimulates this network that we are all connected into. And we all do this, whether we are conscious of it or not. So what is it that we are stimulating in the network? Are we creating this long wave mechanics that allows us to tap into the deeper source of our mechanisms, our mechanizations, our realizations? That's a play on words as well. So there's a lot going on here with this language, but that's part of it. Is we are a walking codex full of information, of inform, right? At the ions, we are also, I always see us as the cells that are inside of a body, that are inside of a bigger body, that are inside of a larger body. You can look up where we are in the Milky Way and see that the entire system that we're connected to is connected to even a bigger motherboard. And we could use it as computers. We could see it that way, or we could see it as a living, breathing body of source energy, right? I like to see it that way, but I like to play with the computer language and lingo because we created that language and lingo to help make sense of mechanics and how things work. It helps make sense of quantum mechanics, right? But then if we tune that in with physics in general and the building blocks of matter, and everything is a living, breathing body, and we're part of that. We are hosts from one perspective, but we are also hosted by Mother Earth, and we are also working with our body, who is hosting our soul frequency, signature frequency, higher harmonics, light, sound, whatever we want to label it as. It's infinite. So I'm just seeing many of us don't realize how big of a role, again, playing with that. If you look at film and it's connected in a role, right? It's the movie, it's the projector, it's the transparency. We're creating that transparency. So the more truthful and I'm hearing exponential we are with ourselves, the more we create from a more expansive space. And I keep hearing DreamWorks. This has been coming up a lot. DreamWorks. We're the dreamers. We are creating song lines. And I'm being guided to bring up, so let me just pause. I was guided to look up a different word, but then as soon as I hit pause, I forgot the word. And it doesn't matter because I forgot it for a reason. I was drawn back to transparency, and I'm on Wikipedia right now. And I was guided, I was seeing the body, right, as a projector, the heart as a projector. And, you know, that's kind of a trigger word right now. We want transparency. We want to be able to see, and that is micro to macro. So we do want this, and this is has to do with our, so let me go back to this. Transparency in optics, the physical property of allowing the transmission of light through a material. It's that simple. So we are, right? We are the light, and we are sending this out in waves, and light is connected to sound and vibration and frequency. So it's not just that one medium. We are many mediums. You know, it's like we're this wrapped up in this technology within this body, within a body of air and ether. I guess ether would be more of the body, right? Which sometimes we're in bodies of water. We are connected on a body of earth and dirt and plants with body, you know, so it's all connected. But essentially, the more transparent we are, the more this light shines through us. And we drop these layers of density. We drop these old habit patterns that literally look like a nest. Whenever I look at certain things in the collective right now, and I'll do this in another video, I see rats' nests. You know, if you've ever seen a rat's nest, they take all pieces of old things and they shred it. They shred it and they build and they build and they build. And it just, before you know it, it's all this crap, literally, with the rat's nest, and it's all inside of this. And you have to clean that out so that the light can shine through, but also so the light can come in. And I'm seeing this as we have help. I'll end on this note. We've got major stuff coming from the sun, coming up from the earth. So we're really being invited to take a moment and allow that to come into our field, to feel into what is available to us in our field. And I'll do that in more detail on another video. But I just wanted to do a quick little kind of energy share with this wordplay. And I'll dip in a little bit later and add some more to this. We're really being invited to keep that long wave frequency, that long wave technology, because then this helps us to attune to a higher vibration, which means access to higher dimensions. It means access to things that are here already, but we can't see them when we're not tuned into it, when our body isn't in tune, when our thoughts aren't in tune with those frequencies, when our heart isn't in tune. All of it we're a tuning fork. And when it sounds dull, it's like this dull, low, short sound. It doesn't carry the wave out. It gets cut off. And then we get stuck in this nest that sometimes feels safer to be stuck in or more secure, only because it's a habit that we've become accustomed to. And what I'm seeing is it's easier to stay someplace sometimes than go through customs. Like, oh, do I have to go through this? And what I'm being shown is this just needs to be made more aware. We need to be made more aware of this. And this isn't something that we've been taught, although the ancient teachings that we don't necessarily think are saying anything or think exist, or they're not made readily available to us yet, doesn't mean they're not there. My husband always is like, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there, because I'm looking for something in the refrigerator and I can't find it. But I always flip that back at him, because he sees what I do and he's like, oh, that's crazy. And I'm like, well, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. And that's kind of the theme for right now. It's like we're all seeing things through our own projection. So the more in tune we are with what we're projecting, the more we'll see, the more we'll feel, the more we'll understand on a linear level, on a cognitive level, on a left brain analytical level. But the more critical thinking we'll be able to do based on more information, which means the facts or the analyzation will have more available to then analyze it. Because if we're critical thinking or analyzing based off of something that we think is real when it's not, then what is that? What good does that do for us in the longevity of things? And how much does that block the future of our human evolution from one perspective? If we're only basing, we're taking baby steps when we could take a giant leap, because we just don't have it at our fingertips, because we're not able to feel that it's right there. So I'm going to end on that note. In love and light, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and just have a beautiful day. Namaste. I know things are crazy right now, and I'll talk a little bit about that maybe in another video, but thank you so much. Namaste.